You know, they've been trying to tell us for a long time about this black and brown coalition and how we need to work together and how it's black community and the Hispanic community fighting alongside each other with a shared struggle. They've been saying that for the longest time. And we've been saying, hey, the Hispanics don't see it that way. Black people, we have been the ones historically trying to extend the olive branch for these coalitions and these things like that. But you understand that the Hispanics have historically not seen it that way. And they've been trying to push and push and push. And the reason why they want to do that is because it allows them to conceal their bigger agenda. And their bigger agenda is to pretty much do for the Hispanic community. All right. And the thing is that they need there to be some sense of unity in order for them to get that done. But now that we have exit poll after statistic after statistic after viral moment, and the shills no longer control the media, that's a very, very important aspect. Now the reality is starting to come out, and now nobody's confused, nobody's like surprised even that the Hispanics are showing their loyalty, and their loyalty has always been to white.
The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Family, welcome. I appreciate you guys for being here, okay? Now, we've already talked about, if you guys have not seen that, y'all probably need to. We've already talked about Jasmine Crockett's loss. Okay, we've gone through that. We've gone through the data and all of that stuff about, for Jasmine Crockett's loss. We already did that. Okay. Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people are having a very difficult time coming to grasp, a difficult time understanding, is that because of that, people are starting to realize with the exit polls and things like that there is no black and brown coalition, something we've been saying, and now they're saying something about it, and the Hispanics are gloating. Hispanics are rubbing their faces in it. They're rubbing their face in Jasmine Crockett and her loss, which, to be honest, is a good thing because it further vindicates and proves our point. It proves we were right the entire time. Now, Jemele Hill, somebody who's always been a part of the DNC shill establishment and all of that stuff. You already know that camp of people. Jemele Hill, she's come out and she's tried to analyze the Jasmine Crockett's defeat. She's tried to analyze that. Now, first thing she do before we play it, first thing she tries to do is she tries to make this a gender issue. Okay, this is an issue based off of gender. This is not an issue based off of policy. Black people didn't turn out because of policy. She didn't lose because of the Democrat policy. She didn't lose because of her policy or the Democrat policy. She lost, and it was because she was black and she was a female, and that's the reason why. Okay, and that's the same exact reason that they said with Kamala. They said the same thing with her, that, it's just because nobody wants to see a strong black woman in power. We're going to play that because I have some things to say about it. I have some things to say about that. All right. So here we go. Here we go. Fair use.
To do this, to win Texas, whether or not it was about her electability overall. I see you just said it there. Leo, not going to even pronounce your screen name, but this is one of the things that came up. She lost due to her communication style, nothing to do with skin tone or gender. So for me, this is why it's impossible to separate race and also gender from this conversation. Most, when we have these conversations about the Democratic Party, and because you have seen so much Black support to the Democratic Party over the last 50, 60 years, we know why. It was the Democrats that urged in the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, signed by Lyndon B. Johnson. So there has been a loyalty to the party that, once again, I will continue to say, it is not based on loyalty. It's based on the fact that the Democratic Party became the pathway for a lot of Black mobility. Not because we just love Democrats. It has everything to do with the fact that typically all the major gains have come through that party post Civil Rights Act, post Voting Rights Act. But that doesn't mean that because Black people vote Democrat, that doesn't mean that Black people don't also recognize and understand that Democrats also can be racist. Democrats also can be sexist.
Okay, let me pause that for 1 second. Let's pause that. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because she made this one video and I wasn't originally going to play anything. Then she made a follow-up. And then after I saw the follow-up, I was like, okay, I definitely need to address this. The gains that we've had since the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, I'm going to be honest. Outside of the Civil Rights Act, we've not made gains through the Democrat Party. Nobody can talk about the gains that have been made through the Democrat Party. And this is the problem now. Black people are starting to realize, hey man, we did this because voting at the time, and this is what Malcolm X was talking about, voting at the time was strategic, okay? Whether we were going Republican or Democrat, we had an agenda for the community. After we went from after we jumped ship and went to the Democratic Party, which at the time, I'm not even going to get mad at them for it. At the time, I understand that. At the time, if the Democrat Party was the one pushing the voting rights and the Civil Rights Act and all of that, and this is what the whole movement was about, that made sense at the time. Okay? Our ancestors had their heads on straight. They knew what they were doing. Now, there were some mistakes made. Of course, we can understand that, but there's no need to beat up on nobody or be a Monday morning quarterback. We don't need to do that. At the time, that made sense. Okay? Because it wasn't about party loyalty. It was about whatever best fits the community is where we're going. And whoever, Democrat or Republican, whoever will agree to that is where we're going to. Now, at the time, that was the Democrats. The problem we've made since then, that was an issue. I wanted to be abundantly clear. Voting for the Democrats or being a part of or not being a part of the Democrats, but backing the Democrats at that time was not the problem. The problem was after that, there was the same loyalty. Okay, the loyalty still stayed there and the demands fell. That was our problem. Our problem was at that time, they just had us hooked. Okay, we was just hooked. No demands, but the loyalty didn't fade. Okay, it didn't deteriorate until, to be very honest, since Obama. Okay, and then it slowly started to fade away. Now it's pretty much gone now, but that has been our problem. Let's let her continue, okay? Because what she's going to do, she's going to sit up there and make it seem like Black people voting for the Democratic establishment is some type of strategic 4-play chess thing, 4D chess.
We generally, as Black people,
I didn't mean to say 4-play chess, 4D chess,
have this understood idea that white supremacy is white supremacy, and both of these parties then practice it, and both of these parties have perfected it. We know that this is not devoid, and by calling out racism on the Republican side, we're not saying it doesn't exist on the Democratic side. No one is saying that at all. Certainly, we don't believe this. But I do think that her loss brings about a question about what electability means to Black women.
Okay, now before we do that, okay, they're going to sit up here and say that. They're going to say, well, yeah, we acknowledge that there's racism on the Democrat side. We acknowledge that there's racism on the Democrat side. Yet when we call out the racism on the Democrat side, these will be the same people calling us Hotep. These will be the same people calling us Russian bots, MAGA. These will be the same people saying we've been paid off by the Republicans. These will be the same people jumping in front of any type of criticism for the Democrat Party. Now, she'll get up here and she'll say, oh, well, yeah, there's racism in the Democrat Party. She won't call it out. Now, she don't have any type of problem getting in front of or calling out the Republicans' racism, which should be called out. But she won't call out the Democrats' racism. And if we call it out, we'll be labeled a Republican or labeled MAGA or whatever the case is. Just like she's doing right here. Watch. We in here, family. We in here. Wait, real quick. Can y'all do me one solid favor? I appreciate, because y'all blew up the last live we got. We got well over 2,000 likes. So actually, let me give y'all a round of applause for that. Let me give y'all a good round of applause for that one early on. I'm talking about the likes was crazy on that one. So I know we can do it. I know we can do it. Y'all really appreciated that. So that's a good sign. So thank you. So if y'all can make sure that y'all are in here, if you're watching live or recorded, hit that like button, double check, make sure you subscribe, all that stuff. I would tremendously appreciate that. All right. I really would. Let's get back to it.
Black people overall, but especially Black women, because of the way that Black women have become the backbone and the core of the Democratic Party. And there is a pattern that is being established here. See, when Jasmine Crockett was reading Marjorie Taylor Greene for filth, when we see her in these hearings asking the questions that people want to know and holding these other public officials and political officials possible, it was, yes, girl, yes, y'all was doing all this and gone girl and all that. All of y'all was gone girling. And when I say y'all, I'm talking about a lot of white leftists. Listen to Black women, y'all gone girl, blah, 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 blah. Like, that's all you were hearing. All the rooting, because Jasmine Crockett was involved and embroiled in the fight. And she was saying what a lot of people felt. She was saying all those things and fighting for people. And that is the kind of energy, showcasing the kind of energy a lot of Democrats said they wanted. We've seen Black women do this before. Saw it with Kamala Harris. Remember when Kamala Harris was in the Senate at the congressional hearings? It was, yes, girl, hold them accountable. Or however people do it. It was all of that. And then until Stacey Abrams, same thing. Stacey Abrams, when she's out there setting the foundation, helping in one of the most progressive, smart, structured voter registration campaigns in Georgia, helping to turn Georgia blue. It was, yes, Stacey, gone, girl, gone. All that again. But what happened when all three of them tried to run for higher office? What happened? Then let's just start with Jasmine Crockett. Okay.
Before we go there, can I say something just real quick? Kamala is not Black. She is not Black. Okay? She's not. And the reason all of this stuff we kept telling you all, we kept saying that all of this, yes, girl, and all of this stuff like that, and yes, sister queen, we said, first off, that's performative. And that's not a good representation of the Black community, especially in those settings, okay? And every time we said that, it was, man, that sounds like misogyny to me. That sounds like you don't like Black women. That sounds like you need to go to therapy and you don't got a good relationship with your mama. That's what they were saying with us. They were even saying that to sisters. When sister was all like, they didn't like the way Jasmine Crockett conducted herself or behaved or anything like that. They were telling the sisters that they had internalized misogyny. They can't be misogynistic because they also women, but they had internal misogyny. Okay. So they were saying you get some brainwashed sexism against your own sex. That's what they were saying. Now she lost, and now you want to call out the white leftists who propped all that stuff up. We were telling y'all all that was fake anyway. They love it when Black people go out there and make a fool of themselves, okay? They love that. They love it when Black people go out there and hoop and holler and scream and yell and get arrested and all of that. And they'll be all like, oh my God, she is so brave. Look at her. She got a lot of attitude, doesn't she? She's telling him, oh, I couldn't do it. She got that spice. They love that. Yeah, but then when they need support, then when they need donations, then when they need backing, they're not there. They want to back James Tellerico. They love that. And they do that time and time again, which is why we keep saying all you guys are trying to be performative. And the only people you're impressing are the white liberals because that's entertainment to them. Okay, let me be very honest with you guys. Y'all think politics is fun? I mean, I know we make it look interesting, That's because we just got sauce like that. We got flavor like that. Okay. But let's be honest. You think sitting in Congress and looking at files and looking at legislation, you think that's fun? That's not fun. It's not a very fun job. Okay. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Shouldn't be going on at all. But with that aside, it's not fun. So they like the black entertainment. Okay, they like the black people who show out and make a fool out of themselves, something that they can laugh about when they go get a coffee break. They'd be like, did you see Jasmine? Did you see her wig? Did you see it? It was all the way pushed back over. I couldn't bear it. It was all the way pushed back over there. You go, girl. Like, they like that stuff. They laugh at you, not with you. And we were saying that. We all like, hey, I don't know who you think you're representing. You're not representing us, because we don't want you to do that. And the people who are laughing, quote unquote, with you are not on your team. We were telling you that. Y'all are just now coming to the realization of what we've been saying the whole time. Okay. And let me be abundantly clear. The Kamala doing the Yes Girl, she tried to do that because she wanted to cosplay as an FBA woman. That's what she tried to do. It didn't work. She tried to cosplay. That's why she was putting on this Southern accent and talking about how she make her greens in the bathtub and all that stuff. She was trying to cosplay. It didn't work, though.
Jasmine Crockett, once she decided to jump fully into this Texas Senate primary and the Texas Democrat race, then you heard a lot of quote unquote white leftists. Suddenly, Jasmine Crockett's record for Israel. There was the misinformation about her taking money from AIPAC. It was how she talked. It was how she related. They started picking her apart. Picking her apart. So the same people who was like, yes, girl, do that. Black women, listen to them, la, 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 all that. As soon as she started seeking something that was about her, about leadership, they love the labor, they hate the leadership. As soon as she started seeking real leadership, and not to suggest that being a House of Representatives is not real leadership, it certainly is. But the moment she chose to rise above the station she was at and be more than, yes, girl, and be more than that, that's when it all showed up. And it was the same with Stacey Abrams. It was the same with Kamala Harris. Y'all, it's yes, girl, when you're the labor. It's we don't know if you're electable when you try to be the leader. How many times have we seen this before? It's not just with Black women. And it's just that Black women, because you're getting it from both directions, you're getting the racism part and the misogyny part at the same time. That's what makes the difference.
Now, I'm going to let it play. I'm going to let it play because she says a lot. And there's a lot we got to cover. So I don't want to, go on too long on every little thing, right? But Kamala's case was actually almost entirely different. The whole party rushed to back Kamala Harris. Unlike Jasmine, the reason why Jasmine lost, and we already went through this before, is because she didn't get the black vote. She didn't get enough of the black vote. She didn't get a high enough black turnout. Okay. Now, she also was completely abandoned by her party. Obama endorsed Tellerico. She was abandoned by her party. Her party didn't back her. Her party was actually sending shots her way the second she announced she was running. Her party her party backed James Tellerico. That's the reality of that. With Kamala, all of the Democrats from every nook and cranny backed Kamala Harris. So she's trying to make it seem like Kamala fell the same fate that Jasmine fell. No, Jasmine was abandoned by the party. We're just talking about the party. Kamala was never abandoned by the party. Kamala has gotten handout after handout after handout. Okay. Let's be honest. We're not going to act like she didn't sleep her way up to the top. Let's not even lie about it. Okay. Let's not do that. Kamala got whooped when she ran the first time and she was picked by Joe Biden. And the only reason she had a slight chance is because Joe Biden dropped out and there was only 100 days before the election. And she was pretty much the only pick. That's the only thing. So she had handout after handout after handout after handout. So Kamala, it's not like, oh, y'all didn't want to support Kamala. No, everybody wanted to support Kamala. So the only people who mattered didn't, and that was foundational Black Americans. We were the deciding vote of Kamala getting in the White House. She had an opportunity while Jamila Hill is trying to make it seem like this is about sexism and racism and all of that stuff. No. Kamala had an opportunity. Stacey Abrams had an opportunity. And Jasmine Crockett had an opportunity. All of them had an opportunity to do the right thing, and they didn't. It has nothing at all to do with them being a woman. It has nothing at all to do with them being Black. They didn't. Okay. You got you've had opportunities. Y'all already knew about reparations. All of y'all said no. Kamala is known for saying she said no. Stacey Abrams said no. Jasmine Crockett said, well, yeah, but we can only do it for the environment. We'll give environmental justice. All of them said no. All of them had a fair chance. I'm not trying to hear we're raising the standards for Black women. That's their excuse. The reason why they want to make that excuse is because they don't want to concede to the fact that it was their policies and their stances on Black issues, not foreign issues, Black issues that messed them up. That was the problem.
But in general, there is a problem in this country because, and we have seen this in this new iteration of Trump, where you have white folks being like, Black people help us. Black people help us understand this. Go out and rally, go out and protest. And that is why you heard so many Black people after the last election say, no, y'all got it. We tried. We tried to tell y'all what was about to happen. And now that it's happened and you're calling on our help and you're wondering why that phone call is going unanswered, why that bat signal, we ignoring it. This is why. Because y'all are good when we out there protesting, when we're putting ourselves on the front line, sacrificing our careers. But when it comes to Black people wanting higher leadership, then you got a problem. Then it's, but are they electable? Yeah. Then the default goes back. Let's just find the nearest white man. That'll always get us there. That will always get us there. Let's just find a white man. Yeah. And so it brings about a bigger question about who exactly do y'all consider electable, especially one that's a woman. Because I think all women face some degree of this. There's a higher level of it because, again, the combination of the racism, the sexism, the misogyny as Black women having to deal with that, it's a little bit different. Hillary Clinton is facing the same thing. Y'all are watching Hillary Clinton, or y'all watch Hillary Clinton cook in these depositions. That's the same Hillary Clinton y'all saw in 2016. People are like, where was this Hillary Clinton? She was there in 2016. But back then, y'all wanted to talk about hot sauce in her bag and deplorables and all the dumb shit that didn't even matter. Y'all wanted to talk about that then. And now it's, oh, but she seems so different. She ain't different. You were different. That's what it is. The reality.
So back then, we wanted to talk about hot sauce in a bag. No, we didn't want to talk about it. She brought it up. Let's not do that. Let's not make it seem like we were the ones doing that. Hillary Clinton was pandering, talking about, man, I keep hot sauce in my bag. And then she got a picture of her eating some chicken with some hot sauce. That's, first off, that's very offensive. That's incredibly offensive. And Jamil Hill, because her loyalty is to the Democrat Party, is not to Black people, she's going to blow it off as if we were tripping. She's going to gaslight as if we were tripping for being offended by that pandering. Okay. Now, Hispanics, I'm going to show you guys, Hispanics don't like that pandering either. If somebody was to say, what do you keep in your purse? And then somebody was to be all like, I keep, what type of, I keep limes in my purse. So when I have some tacos, I can sprinkle some lime juice on my tacos because I eat tacos all the time. They would feel some type of way about it. They would take it some type of way. But we just supposed to ignore the offensive stereotypical pandering. of you keeping hot sauce in your damn purse. And Kamala said the same thing. No. On top of that, Hillary also has a very anti-black history. Okay, pushing the narrative that black people are super predators. That didn't even come from Trump. That came from Hillary. Hillary ran a terrible campaign. Her campaign was, hey, I'm not Trump, so just run with me. That's it. Yeah, somebody saying Goya powder. If you said, listen, what's in your bag? If you were on a Hispanic podcast, because she was on the Breakfast Club, if you were on a Hispanic run podcast and they ask you, what do you keep in your purse? For what? And they, first off, the Breakfast Club, y'all deserve donkey of the day for even asking that question, because y'all already knew. And that's my thing with the Breakfast Club. The Breakfast Club don't even be trying to be no real interviewers like that. Especially back then. They still do it now. They don't even be trying to do that. The Breakfast Club be sitting up there trying to give an alley-oop and make it seem as if this is, real authentic journalism in a real authentic interview. It wasn't. Why would you ask? I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but I gotta say this. Why would you ask a political candidate who's running for president what they keep in their purse? What would possess you to ask that? As a serious interview, what would possess you to ask? I personally, I've never asked a woman what's in her purse. I don't recall the time I've ever even asked a woman that. Especially during an interview. Y'all seen me do several interviews. I've never asked them, like, by the way, you got your purse. What are some of the things you keep in your purse? And the fact that, first off, and this is how you know it was all staged, because if a grown man asks a woman that, she would kind of look like, why would you, what's wrong with you? Why would you ask me that? See, an actual woman who didn't see that question coming would just be kind of confused by that. Like, why is this man asking what's in my purse? Her answer wouldn't be, oh, a bottle of hot sauce. So we saw through that. And the thing is that when we're asking for legislation and we're asking for specific policies and tangibles, and all we get is this pandering, it further goes to prove that you have no intention on doing anything substantive for the community. And that's what turned off a lot of black voters, is the offensive, stereotypical pandering. Let me be abundantly clear. Hillary Clinton wasn't no super sharp person. She wasn't that. Okay? She wasn't. And she ain't now.
The reality is that the expectations, the scrutiny is different for women who are running for higher political office. And people keep saying, because of the fact that Donald Trump has beaten out two women, Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, now you see what's happened with Jasmine Crockett. You saw Stacey Abrams, one of the brightest political minds, saw her lose. That people are saying, well, maybe the country isn't ready for a white woman. Maybe the country isn't ready for a woman to be in a certain position of leadership. Now, this is not universal. We see Gretchen Whitmer, who runs Michigan. We see other Angela also Brooks. Like, there's certainly examples. Jasmine Crockett, she had to get elected to the position that she is in. So there's, clearly some level of tolerance for women in leadership. That's not to say universally, like, none of them do, but it is to say that when it comes to certain positions, don't know if we're ready for that. When I tell you this, understand that being ready is not the problem. Because who exactly is not ready? Being ready, if we waited on everybody to be ready for progress, we literally would still be drinking out of separate water fountains. Actually, I go back further than that. I mean, Jim Crow would still be around. Maybe even slavery, if we waited until everybody is ready. Everybody is never ready. That's the point. And so I find that, unfortunately, what happens is that then the public begins to vote based off the imaginary principle of not being ready.
Okay. We're going to fast forward this because she just rambles for a minute. So we're going to fast forward that. we're gonna get a little bit further, because then she starts addressing Latinos later on.
That was a mistake. So yeah, there are mistakes to be made, but let's not act like racism and misogyny ain't in the room too. Now, as we break down about what was the reason Jasmine Crockett lost, already across social media, even though we don't have any exit numbers, we don't know this.
Now, we do have exit numbers, but at the time of her recording this, there were no exit numbers.
But the war is on in terms of Black people, because that was really Jasmine Crockett's core base in Texas. You know, her Black support just, I mean, it wasn't even close with Tallarico. It's not even worth mentioning because Jasmine had so much of it. And so, you know, the very clear situation that was going to develop when you looked at James Tallarico's Latino and Hispanic support, he had a lot of it. He had a lot more than Jasmine Crockett had. And so because of that, people are now blaming Latinos, and by people, again, it's the Black Latino Civil War that's happening in the social media streets. And so there is a conversation to be had about whether or not that's real. I think there is some realness to it. And a lot of people thought that when Jasmine Crockett discussed Latinos who voted for Trump, that she gave an answer that was insulting to Latinos. So this is from a December 2024 politics, or a December 2024 Vanity Fair profile, in which Jasmine Crockett was asked about Latino Trump supporters. And this is what she said. Let me find the exact quote. All right. So Jasmine Crockett said, that is when talking about Latino Trump supporters, because, you know, her entire premise, just to set this up properly, because I want to make sure I get the context right. She was saying how surprised that she was that when Hillary Clinton ran, she just assumed that the Democrats were going to win Florida. They did not. And she saw how many Latinos and Hispanics, one, how big their voting numbers were, and two, how they did not go for Hillary Clinton. They went the other direction. They went for Donald Trump. And since then, she had been trying to understand some of the complexities within the Latino community, especially as it related to race. And so here's what she said. Let me go back and read. Okay, I'll start from here because it is kind of a long answer. When they think of illegals, they think of, you know, maybe people that come out of the cartels and that kind of like the criminal type book or whatever. It's insane. It almost reminds me, as she was talking about understanding why Latinos would go for Trump, knowing his position about mass deportation and the fact that he called Mexicans rapists, all that kind of stuff. She said, it's insane. It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they would talk about kind of like slave mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. It is wild to me when I hear how anti-immigrant they are as immigrants, many of them. I'm talking about people that literally just got here and can barely vote that are having this kind of attitude. So that answer, according to many, is what got her in disfavor with Latinos, is that she called those who vote for Trump, and it was millions of them who did, especially in the last election, particularly Latino men, where I believe it was somewhere between 55 and 60% of Latino men voted for Trump. And she was explaining, sort of based off her conversations with the Latino and Hispanic community, what she heard.
That pissed off a lot of, first off, boy, she took a minute to get there, but that pissed off a lot of Latinos. Ladies and gentlemen, it pissed off a whole lot of Latinos. They had some things to say about that. Let me get to y'all, because we actually had a live stream on TikTok about this. I didn't actually show the video, but I'm going to show the video now. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to show a couple of them, just a couple, to let you guys see. This is how the Latinos, the Black and Brown Coalition, this is how they felt about Jasmine Crockett losing her election.
Oh no. What do you mean? Jasmine not going to Congress for Texas? Oh, Crockett. A girl can only dream. Listen, Jasmine, what was that one quote that you said? Let me think. Oh, yeah. We done picking cotton. You can't pay us enough to go find a plantation. Yeah, you remember that. I remember that. How could I forget? See, 6.5 million Hispanic voters in Texas, which is like the majority of the electoral vote here in the state. And you mean to tell me that you think that we're still picking cotton? Hell no, girl. Hell no. That's why you lost. You're fucking racist. I'm gonna tell you something real quick. If you would have pitched that in 2002, 2001, you probably could have gotten like a good drift. However, that was people in the past. Those kids that I grew up with that were chasing a field every summer, every spring with their parents, moving school to school because they had to go pick fruit with their parents, are now grown up. And guess what? Do you think that they're going to go back to picking fields when they have a citizenship? No. As a matter of fact, they're not even looking to vote for blue people with blue policies that put their parents in fields. Fuck no. Some of them are real estate investors, business owners. They're passing down generational wealth. And you think that they're picking cotton. You out of your goddamn mind. I'm going to remind you real quick. The majority of the Latino voters for Trump here in Texas live in the southern border. You know what happened in the southern border? No. Why? Because neither you nor Kamala have the balls to go down there. I'm going to tell you what happened. Along the Texas border, poverty levels are sky high as it is. When you import a bunch of riffraff from third world countries and they end up in those southern border towns, they strain the resources for those people. Those people can't even survive. And then you're bringing in all this fucking riffraff with a CBP1 app Ticketmaster to the United States and you leave them there. That's why our governor had to ship all those fucking people out. And then y'all complain, oh, you were shipping on. Yeah, because you guys brought them here. You blue people brought them here to Texas and the southern towns were suffering. Not only that, but there was violence across the border in Tamaulipas, in Reynosa, all those cartels fighting to bring all those people over here. Why? Because they were profiting billions of dollars. And your ass still thinks that we're picking cotton? Take that. No Congress for Jasmine. As a matter of fact, why don't you go run for Missouri? What did you do in Missouri that they don't want you to run for them? Oh, I know. Exactly. Because people in Missouri see right through your bullshit. And so do we in Texas. Keeping Texas red.
All right. Now she said a lot. I didn't want to pause it, but she went on a lot. Let's do a little breakdown of that rant right there. I'm glad, very glad that she was honest about everything she said. The first thing I want to acknowledge is something that we've been saying here for years now. The narrative that all the Hispanics, they're only over here and they're only just in the fields and the farm work and they're only doing hospitality work. That's not true. That was the first thing she said. If y'all think, and we got to update as foundational Black Americans, we really have to update how we view this, okay? Because they're not coming over here and only working on the farms. They're not coming over here and only making hotel beds. They're in every single job market. Now, they pretty much have the agricultural and hospitality job market locked out. They damn near have a monopoly on those job markets, but they're trying to expand and do everything else. So when we say they're coming over here and they're acting as if they're our competition, and the Democrat Party is allowing them to do it and helping them do it, we're not talking about working on the farms. We're talking about everything. We're talking about scholarships. We're talking about business loans. We're talking about home loans. We're talking about all of this stuff. They're coming here and taking everything. They're not just here to pick strawberries all they want to. They're going to do that for a little bit of time. I guarantee you they're not having their kids do that. They're not having their kids do that. They're going to come here. They're going to get a whole bunch of government assistance and they're going to have their kids compete with your kids. And their kids are going to have an advantage because the government is going to back their kids, not yours. That's what's going to happen. So while we keep allowing these politicians to tell us and gaslight us and saying that, oh, you know what are you talking about? They're coming to take your jobs. You're not even on the field. No, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that when we're looking for a corporate job, when we're looking for a job at the office, when we're looking for a job at the state, when we're looking for state contracts, I was up at, let me tell you a brief story. I was at City Hall. Y'all know we go to City Hall all the time, right? We were at City Hall, and somebody said that we raised they were talking about the black contractors, the black state contractors, or city contracts, sorry, the black city contracts. And they said that we've raised the black city contracts, and the black city contracts are much higher than they were before. They were only at 1% when we started, and we majorly increased the black contracts. And then somebody in the back was all like, hey, so what percent do they have now? If they were only at 1% a few years ago, what percent do they have now? This man, I'm not joking. I swear I'm not joking. This man said 3%. I swear to I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. He said 3%. He's trying to brag about going from 1% of city contracts for black folk to 3%. Not even 5. We don't even get a whole 5%. Because a lot of those percentage goes to, first off, the dominant society, and then second off, Latinos. Latinos get a big fat chunk. Last I checked, they're up in there, and they're in about the 20 to 30%. They're several times what the black contractors in the city of Chicago are getting. Now, they don't make up that much more of the population in Chicago, but they make tens of times more city contracts than black folk do in the same city, with roughly the same percentage. It might be a little off now, but roughly about the same percentage. And this goes for the whole state and the country. The government's giving them certain contracts that they're not giving black people. They're giving them opportunities and jobs and scholarships and loans and grants that they're not giving black people. And we got to sit up there and allow the politicians, our representatives, to gaslight us and to tell us, oh, they're only over here getting strawberries out of a tree. They're only over here with a bucket of oranges. What are you complaining about? No, they're not doing that. They are not doing that. Okay? All of that gaslighting that Jasmine Crockett was doing, that's a lie. Okay? We need to stop even thinking about that. Then she says something else, right? She goes on to talk about how, the Latinos are upgrading and all of that stuff, and how Jasmine couldn't do it. And the reason why they didn't want to is because of racism and all of that stuff. And they're red. Good. Here's the thing. While they want to sit up there and get black people to go outside and fight against ICE, they want us to go outside and fight against ICE. And they say, Trump, he's kidnapping people and he's grabbing people up, and they don't have a warrant, and they're grabbing them and they're just taking them and throwing them out the country. And that's not right. And that's unfair. He's breaking up families. Okay. He's breaking up families. This is what the Latinos still think of Donald Trump. I'm so glad she said that. I'm so glad. When she said it, I was just like, oh, thank God. Yeah. Somebody in the chat room, also, yeah, the H-1B visas, all of that stuff they get. The Latinos still support Donald Trump. Don't be confused. Don't let ICE and deportations confuse you. Donald Trump still has a very strong Latino support. I promise you. And we saw that with Jasmine, and we're going to see that with the midterms. We're going to see that. Okay? Because when it comes to the Hispanic community, they think that they're just a couple shades away from being considered white. They're just right outside of the door. There's not even a full door. It's just a screen door where they can see everything and hear everything. You're right outside of that door, and they're not getting off the porch because they feel like they're that close. That's how close they feel. They're not going for Democrats. They don't. While the Democrats consistently pander to Hispanics, and Hispanics will blatantly tell you, I'm not going for you. They're going to go for the GOP every time, and we see it every time. So all of this black and brown and hold on, we got to do this for the Hispanic vote. The Hispanic vote is telling you there's nothing you can do for me because I'm over here. They keep saying that. And I want everybody to understand why they sit up there and try to make us seem like we're the bad guys for saying that ICE is their problem. This is what they still on. They still on this. If they could do it all over again, they would still vote for Donald Trump. They would. And you know they would. If they could go back with all the deportations and ICE and all that stuff and vote for Donald Trump again, they would all do it again. They would do it again. All it is, oh my, and they want us to feel bad. Oh my God, they're bringing up families. How could they do that? They don't care. If they don't care. And if they don't care, why should we? Why should we be more concerned about deportations if clearly that's what they own? That's what I'm saying. Now let me show you another video. Let me show you one more video. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I mean, because the Hispanics, and this just a couple of them, but the Hispanics was going in on Jasmine. Not only the videos, there was a whole bunch of them in the comments like, oh, I'm glad she lost this ghetto. They was calling her ghetto and ratchet and all of this stuff. They was glad she lost.
Jasmine Crockett said that Latinos have a slave mentality. So I'm going to read the article. Somebody mentioned that in my comments in my previous video. And I was like, what the hell are they talking about? Where did you see that? And when they said that, I actually looked up the article, looked up what the hell they were referencing, because I'm like, where did they get that from? So I'm going to read the article to you. I'll give you a little backstory, and then I'll leave my comments at the end, which is pretty self-explanatory, but it's easy to take out of context. They were asking her of the race for Kamala Harris and how Trump lied about many things. And she said, but we did also see Trump do better somehow with Black voters and Hispanic voters than he has before. And they asked her, I wonder if you could just expand a little bit on what your sense is of how race and gender figured into this election, because it obviously was an animating factor, but maybe in a more complicated way. She explained that the way that Latinos see immigration has always confused her, has always perplexed her, per her words. So I'm quoting what she said. It's basically like, speaking of the Latino community, it's basically like, I fought to get here, but I left y'all where I left y'all, and I want no more of y'all to come here. If I wanted to be with y'all, I would have stayed with y'all, but I don't want y'all coming to my new home. Saying like, maybe this is what Latinos are thinking. She says, this is my distilled summary of what happened within the Latino community. I've not run into that with the Asian community. I've not run into that with the African community. I have not run into that with the Caribbean community. I've only run into that with Hispanics. When they think of illegals, they think of, maybe people that come out of the cartels and that kind of like the criminal type book or whatever. It's insane. It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they talked about kind of like a slavery mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. It is wild to me when I hear how anti-immigrant they are as immigrants, many of them are. I'm talking about people that literally just got here and can barely vote that are having this kind of attitude. So to the people that are saying like Latinos should be against Jasmine Crockett because of this statement, she is not wrong. She's not wrong. She's stating fucking facts. I have said it myself. I have asked the question myself, and many other Latinos have. How is it that us being immigrants and knowing the struggles that our parents went through, that our grandparents went through, we want to close the door behind us? And we did that by voting the Cheeto Puff into office. So that was her statement. It was not anything out of the ordinary. It was not her being disrespectful. It was her making a freaking statement and an observation and saying the quiet part out loud. We've all said it. We've all thought it, mostly as Latinos, like, how could you vote against your own interests? That is it.
Now, here's the thing. When we talk about people voting against their, and I like that. I like the fact she said that, which is why I played that clip. People voting against their own interests, right? The thing is that we need to stop assuming what their interests are. Okay? We are making, and we have been making, now we're not doing that as much now, but we have been making the very bad mistake of assuming that we have shared interest because we're minorities. okay? Because we're just not Caucasian, and we feel as if every non-Caucasian should have the shared agenda, a shared allegiance, a shared interest, okay? We don't. She's all like, how can they do that? They want to do that because they feel as if them being pro-immigration, when they know for a fact the dominant society is really not that, okay? They can't do that. They understand the pathway to whiteness. There's a pathway to citizenship, and then there's a pathway to whiteness, okay? For an example, if you get to come over here, you can't sit up there and open the door behind you. You can't do that. You barely got in the room. It's like a job. When you first get in the job, you can't make referrals. When you first get in the job, you got to get in the job. You got to wait for your probation period and all that stuff. You got to wait till you kind of cool with the manager and cool with your supervisor. You got to wait for all of that stuff before you start making referrals. You can't get in there and then next week you say, hey, I got my cousin over. No. You can't do that. And the Hispanics know that. The Hispanics, the reason why the Hispanics are actually for ICE and immigration is because they think of it like this. They think, damn, you guys bring a very negative stigma. They understand the cartel brings in. Have you guys seen exactly what's going on in Mexico? How the cartel has taken over all of Mexico? We're doing this on the fly, but I'm going to show you guys. Let me show you guys real quick, just a news clip of Mexico and the state of Mexico. And I'm going to show you guys this for a reason. I'm showing you guys this because they don't want that stigma following them. They understand, like, hey, Mexico, the cartel, that's got a very bad stigma. And they don't want that following them, because if that follows them, then the dominant society is going to be less reluctant to, allow them into whiteness. Let me see. I'm just looking this up. I'm trying to find not a documentary. I'm trying to just find a news clip. Okay. I'm doing this on the fly. I wasn't even planning on, I didn't even have this pulled up. Okay. Okay, hold on. Where's the news clip? Okay, I'll play this. I'll play this one right here. Where is it? Okay, here we go. This is what's going on in Mexico right now. This is why they don't want to they want to close the door behind them.
Violence is rocking. Cartel violence is rocking the nation of Mexico right now. This week, military forces there killed the country's most powerful drug lord, known as El Mencho. Mexican officials say more than 70 people have died in the aftermath, including security officers, suspected cartel members, and civilians. No Americans have been injured or killed. We know that from the White House press secretary. The State Department says hundreds of Americans trapped inside Mexico have called the emergency helpline. Some are sharing their stories.
We're in lockdown. We can't leave the hotel. If you do leave, you have to sign a waiver. Anything you do beyond that point is on you, basically.
We were hungry yesterday. We had no food yesterday. Nothing. Nothing was open. It was a terrifying day yesterday. My daughter saw the cartel light a car on fire right in front of us. There was fire all around us. It was terrifying.
Jonathan Hunt with the latest. Jonathan.
All right, I just wanted to show you guys that just for a second. Just for a second. They don't want that following them. They don't want that stigma following them. Okay. They don't want to seem as if they're a problem or anti-American or anything like that. To show their patriotism, which is something a lot of them are trying to prove, to show that they can't be a super pro-Mexico and cartel and all that stuff. They can't do that. They got to get that jacket up off them. No wonder that's why they closed the door behind them. That's the whole reason. Okay. And they're going to keep doing that. And it's up to us to realize that, accept that for what it is, and move accordingly. Now, going back to it, actually, let me get to the super chat real quick from Bebe. Bebe says, I live in Texas. Hispanics, her color, consider themselves Caucasian. I'm a nurse. I've seen medical records. They do. They do. Thank you. First off, thank you. Because we have a firsthand witness. They do. You can look up the statistics, the data, and all of that. Their color, if you go back to it, I want you to actually take a look. I'm going to go back to the very first woman that we were talking about. Right
what do
here.
you mean? Jasmine not going to Congress for Texas?
This woman, she can easily be mistaken for Caucasian. If you didn't hear her accent, if you're not just off of visuals alone, she could easily go for something not Mexican. She doesn't have a very strong Hispanic look to her like that. She really doesn't. She probably got her lips done. I ain't gonna lie to you. Probably, maybe not. I don't know, but no, they're right on the verge of being. You can't really tell. And the thing is, she probably got a little accent to her. Probably. Besides that, you can't really tell. And they do their hair a certain way to make it difficult to tell. They do their makeup a certain way to make it difficult to tell. They wear their clothes and all of that stuff. They don't want you to be able to tell. Okay. And according to their paperwork, they're white. According to their paperwork, they are white. Let's be clear with that. Let's be honest. Now let's go to this. Let's get back to it, because this was her response.
Theme night, which got a lot of people very surprisingly upset. Not a lot. Let me not overblow it, but it got some people upset. So make sure you go and check out Flagrant and Funny and give all the same support that you have been giving to me. So appreciate that. All right. I want to start by a little bit of rewind. Don't know how many of you were able to join me on Wednesday. And this was coming. I'm trying to remember. I think it was official by the time that I went live. The results from the Jamestown
chat room. Come on now. You can tell. Let's listen. You can tell, but she's not. She doesn't. Let me be abundantly clear. She doesn't have a tint to her skin. When I say you can't tell, I mean she's right there on that verge. Those are the ones her shade. Let me just show it again. The ones her shade specifically, her facial features specifically, her hair texture specifically, those will be the most pro-white Hispanics you've seen. Okay? Those are the Nick Fuenteses. Nick Fuentes is Hispanic. You can't really tell by looking at him. If Nick Fuentes says he was English, he could fool you. He doesn't have a Hispanic accent or anything like that. His last name gives it away, but you can tell. A lot of them try their absolute best to hide it. And they act like it too. And you know what's worse than that? Is that you'll actually receive way more open racism and hostility from them than you actually would from an English white person or a British white person. Those will be the most hostile, openly hostile racist people. You deal with, and I'm not trying to say the British and English are not racist, but you deal with actually more hostility from the almost whites than you actually do from the whites. Because the almost whites are trying their best to prove their whiteness, and their whiteness is always anti-black. So they do the most with it. Let's get back to her response, because there's another thing I wanted to show you guys a little bit later too. So I want to get to that.
Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett primary race in Texas, obviously one of the biggest political stories of this week. I broke down a lot of components to why Jasmine Crockett was unable to win this primary. And, you know, the thing is, whenever you have complicated conversations like that one, and you bring up that racism and misogyny were at play, were they the main reasons? No, I think there's enough of the pie to go around, but they were definitely in the room. And pointing out the ways in which racism and sexism may have impacted how people looked at her. And it really wasn't about Jasmine Crockett. The point of Wednesday's Live was to address this entire idea of electability and who gets to be considered electable and who doesn't. And going through that autopsy, looking at her race, and there was definitely things that she could have done better. There were a lot of people who said there were certain counties and areas and communities that she should have spent more time in. And definitely the money difference between her and James Tallarico was significant. He had way more money than she did, and she jumped into the race later. So these were also factors into why Jasmine Crockett wasn't able to win that primary. Totally understood. But racism and sexism were still in the building. And as long as we're talking politics, identity politics will always and always have been a part of our American political system. So one component that I focused on was talking about the influence of the Latino and Hispanic vote. And when I use those terms, let me just say that I'm using those terms, I understand, very broadly. I can break it down by group and say, okay, we got Mexicans, we have Venezuelans, Guatemalans, we have Cubans, we have Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. Like, I know that everybody doesn't vote the same and that there are very specific issues that are different to every community. And it depends on state too. Latinos in Texas don't vote the same way Latinos in California do. I live in California. I completely understand this. And so, but when I pointed out the fact that James Tallarico had such a high of Hispanics who voted for him and Latinos, and that got into another tangential conversation about the impact the Latino vote has had in our country, especially in the last 2 or 3 elections. One of the reasons why that became an additional component to the conversation is because there was a theory, and some would say beyond a theory, it showed up in the voting booth, that a lot of Latinos did not vote for Jasmine Crockett because of some previous comments she made in talking about Latinos for Trump. The Latinos specifically that she highlighted that voted for Donald Trump. And she told Vanity Fair in a profile that they did on her that she felt like those particular Latinos who voted for Donald Trump were exhibiting what she called a slave mentality, meaning there was a strong amount of self-hate. And I'm paraphrasing here, you guys can read the article for yourself, that there was some self-hate that was in the building, in the room, and that there were also people who desired a proximity to whiteness. And so that was the part of that I addressed. And this is not to say that James Tallarico is not someone who should have been voted for or that he was not deserving of winning the primary. But I think for a lot of people, when you looked at their positions, especially if you wanted to make Israel, let's say Israel was the issue that you wanted to center in determining how you vote, okay? Then you have Jasmine Crockett, who has supported funding of Israel. And you also have James Tallarico, who has taken a lot of campaign money from Miriam Adelson. Miriam Adelson is a Trump supporter, a heavy Trump supporter, who also is extremely pro-Israel. Some would just say a flat-out Zionist. And he's taken a lot of campaign money from her. So if you wanted to hold it up to the Israel purity test, well, you can say they're both about equal. And what I would say is that there were a lot of people, because this is what happens in elections, where they will look at a white candidate who might be very similar to candidates of other ethnicities and decide this candidate is more electable because they're white and other white people will vote for him. So
now, I kind of just want to get to that because we're going to fast forward because this stuff's kind of boring. The only reason I wanted to get to that point, because boy, I'm telling you, it's not that interesting. Let me just say this about, and I'm going to say this real quick. I'm going to be very careful with my wording. I'm going to say this. As far as the American government goes, without being conspiratorial, okay, neither side has shown any type of resistance or pushback or anything. You've not seen anybody, any major well-known politician give any significant real pushback to Israel on any side. not Democrats or Republicans. So try to be all like, this one's pro-Israel, this one's not. No. I mean, there's some who are like just super like Zionists. But besides that, neither side is really trying to push back against them. Neither side is trying to stop them. Neither side is calling them out. Neither side is doing that. Both sides of the major party have shown that if they're not being funded by them, they support them in another way or will turn a blind eye to them. Okay. You can't really name a significantly like known current politician doing the opposite on either side. Both sides are compromised. So like that's not even a real thing like that. Both sides. Let me fast forward because she's gonna talk about that for a minute.
The reason we are is because many of us have a natural distrust of government because of
Hold on,
what
I
we
want to
have
get back
experienced.
because then she starts explaining why Black people vote Democrat.
And given what his policies are. Now, I'm out here in Los Angeles, where obviously there's a heavy Latino population. One, there is a lot of diversity within the Latino community as it relates to voting, much like there is with Black people or any other racial ethnic group. You can't cast a wide net over everybody and say they should all believe this. But that being said, as anyone knows, there's a very different way which Cubans vote, which Venezuelans vote, which Mexicans vote, and on so down the line. And you can't all assume that the same issues are important to all of them because there are distinct markers in their community, just as it is in every community. The Cubans, as we know, that are in Miami, the I will vote for Donald Trumps, they are very soft targets for misinformation. A lot of Latino and Hispanic communities are, to be frank, and especially if you're from Cuba. Cubans hear socialism, communism, and as long as the Republicans use those words to describe democratic policies, they will vote Republican every time, even if they're voting for themselves to be put out of America. They will do it every time. And so that's something that it requires a level of sophistication to understand. And one of the main platforms. All right, so those are my comments the other day. And apparently that was not warmly received by some members of the Latino and Hispanic community. And next thing I know, I'm getting tagged in videos and people accusing me and arguing against points I didn't even make. And that's when I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to respond. So I wasn't surprised that Breitbart, all people, a conservative leaning, not conservative leaning, it is a completely conservative right-wing publication. This is what the headline was after the live that I did on Wednesday. Jamel Hill, Cuban Latino communities are soft targets for misinformation. You know why I said that? And by the way, I'm not excluding Black people from this. Minorities, period, are heavily targeted for mis and disinformation. One, the reason we are is because many of us have a natural distrust of government because of what we have experienced. So it makes sense why you would target minority and marginalized groups, typically on the receiving end of the worst kinds of treatment. And so because of that, it makes these groups ripe to be targeted for disinformation. Listen, I think part of the reason we're in the situation that we are is that we assume that people are a lot more sophisticated when it comes to deciphering information than they are.
Okay, let's get to the misinformation thing. I gotta break it up. I gotta break it up sometimes because honestly, y'all, I get y'all don't like hearing her. I don't either. But I want to get to these points, okay? Because that's what we handle in business and we get into the point. The whole misinformation, Black people are targeted with misinformation. These are the same people who swear up and down that Kamala Harris is a Black woman. Everybody knows clearly Kamala Harris is Indian. These are the same people who will call Kamala Harris a Black woman saying we're the ones who are being misinformed. We're the ones who are being targeted with misinformation. No, what they deem, the DNC shills, what they deem as misinformation, or disinformation is information that has not been approved by them. That's the misinformation they're talking about. Anything that doesn't fit their agenda and push their narrative, that's misinformation. They lie all of the time. Okay, they exaggerate, they strip out certain very important aspects and pieces of information. They don't tell things in chronological order. They don't tell things in context. They will flat out lie all of the time. They said Kamala was the border czar, now she's not the border czar. Kamala was Indian, now she's black. All of this stuff, they were saying all of that. Okay, they're saying, well, hold on. How can you blame the illegal immigrants for causing crimes? They are causing crimes. Well, that's misinformation. Anything that doesn't fit their narrative, they're deeming as misinformation. No, it's not misinformation. And that's the problem with the DNC shills, because y'all don't have control of the narrative anymore. The narrative really is belonging to the grassroots. The grassroots. That's you. We control the narrative. That's you. That's me. We control the narrative. So all of that, y'all are being misinformed with disinformation. No, that's not true. That's not true. And I want you to think about this. What makes, if they were so smart and their information was so accurate, how are people consistently manipulated with misinformation? How are people consistently falling for the misinformation thing? While y'all got several channels out there, pretty much most of the news channels besides Fox News is left-leaning. ABC, CNN, MSNBC, all of these news broadcasters and platforms and things like that. Pretty much everybody from Roland Martin to Jamila Hill to Joy Reid to this. All of you guys are on the left. All of you, there are bigger platforms on that side. Most of the audience who listens to you all are black. Okay, because black people ain't really listening to, Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and all of that. Black people aren't even really listening to that. So how do you guys not control the narrative? How are you guys losing the information war? If it is misinformation, how are you all losing? You all are losing because what you guys are saying, what you guys want is for y'all to say something, and then people feel like, okay, well, Roland Martin said it, then that means it's true because Roland Martin is a journalist. Jamila Hill is a journalist, so that's true. But what's going on, and that's what's messing y'all up, is people are hearing what you guys are saying, and then people are fact-checking it. People are being all like, actually, that's not making no sense. Actually, no, that's not. People are pulling up the receipts, and then people are checking you guys about it. So no, it's not misinformation. Let's get back to it.
They are not. And to my point here, I'm reading, this is directly from and I'm gonna pull it up here on the screen for you guys to see as well. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So let me pull this particular story up. Now, this is a story that was in, I think, it was on the Human Rights Watch. Now, this story, I think they published it during the 2020 election cycle. And as you see what the headline is, disinformation about U.S. elections target communities of color. So people have done research on this. All right.
I'm just going to fast forward past this because this is some DNC shill stuff. I want you guys to remember, these are the same people who were saying that asking for reparations came from Russian bots. And now real black people are not asking for reparations or tangible. Okay, that was some Russian bot foreign election interference. That these are the same people who are peddling that lie, who are pushing that narrative. So don't take nothing they say serious. I'm telling you, all of the quote unquote misinformation that they're going to sit up there and cry about is just actual information that they have not approved.
And one of the main identity politics is to what I said.
life together to make a formal response video to this, but I am so fucking tired of this. I'm so goddamn tired of this, that identity politics is only casted to minorities. White people can go around this country and vote for whoever the fuck that they want, and nobody attacks them for being white and voting Democrat or being white and voting Republican. No one tells them, hey, if you don't vote Republican, you ain't white. No, we get casted the stereotype. We get casted that if we vote anything differently than what the stereotype they think of us, oh, then we must be too fucking stupid. And that's coming from somebody, me. I don't identify as a conservative. I don't like Donald Trump, and many, many different things I don't like about Donald Trump. And I find it actually kind of funny that she thinks she's high IQ and reduces the reason why Democrats don't win because people are too stupid. No, it couldn't be possibly anything else. Come pinga.
Baby girl.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Hold on. I ain't gonna lie to you. She sounded like she was listening to this channel. Because that's what, yeah. And this is why the Democrats keep losing and will lose. They may, as of right now, the way the midterm elections are gonna go, we don't know where they're gonna go. It can go left or right. Okay? Because the Republicans are doing terrible, and so are the Democrats. We don't know where it's going to go, okay? These are the people who say, you know what, instead of analyzing our policies, listening to what you guys demand, listening to what you guys are saying, and then making adjustments as politicians are supposed to do. Let me be abundantly clear, y'all. I'm going to say this real quick. Politicians are supposed to work for the community. That's it. Point blank, period. That's what they run on. Working for the community. They are community servants. They serve the community. It's not supposed to go the other way around. The community is not here to serve the politician. The politician is here to serve the community. That is it. That's it. That's what they signed up for. That's the job. All right. So that means that the politician is supposed to conform to whatever the community demands. If the community is demanding reparations, if the community is demanding an anti-black hate crime law, if the community is demanding tangibles and opportunities and equity and all of that stuff, then the politician is supposed to conform to that. The politician is supposed to abide by what the community wants, because that's the job. The community, which is us, which is me, which is you, we are not supposed to sit up there and compromise on our demands. We're not supposed to sit up there and push our demands back and push our demands to the side and say, you know what, we need to work for you anyway. If our demands is too much, we're just going to make a demand that's a little bit more feasible for you. No. The politician is supposed to meet the demand of the community. The community is not supposed to meet the feelings of the politician. They're not. So what happens is if the community has a demand and the politician does not meet that demand, whether they can't do it or is, in this case, unwilling to do it because they're all saying no, then the community pulls their support back. That's the way politics is supposed to go, y'all. That's the way American politics is supposed to go. Now, what they're supposed to do with Jamel Hill and all of them and all of the DNC shills, what they do is they say, actually, the problem isn't the fact that the politicians are not listening to the community. The problem is that the community is dumb. That's the problem. The problem is not the fact that the politicians are wrong and the politicians need to change. The politicians need to adjust to what the community wants. The problem is that the community is not being subjugated in complicit servants and slaves to the politicians. You're dumb. The people are dumb. The community is dumb. And the community needs to calm all that noise down and listen to what Massa got to say. That's what these people are acting like overseers. Honestly. That's what they're doing. Acting like overseers. And this is what people, and that woman Even though now her agenda and our agenda is completely different agendas, let's be abundantly clear. But that's what we're saying. She's saying, she's listening to what we're saying. She's saying what we're saying. Now you want to say it's misinformation? No. What if why don't you ever say, notice that the DNC Shills never say that the politicians have misinformation. Why are the politicians never misinformed? Why are the politicians never incorrect? Why don't they ever miss the ball? Why don't they ever get anything wrong? You can't say that, though. They can't say that, though. If we don't support the politicians, we're the ones in the wrong, not the politicians. Now, even though the politicians are supposed to work for us, not the other way around, but if we don't support them, we're the ones in the wrong. We're stupid, is what they're saying, what she's saying.
This has nothing to do with a lack of intelligence, and I certainly do not purport myself as being somebody who is smarter than everybody else. But let me go back to what the Human Rights Watch said, okay? Just so I can make this abundantly clear. When I said that your community in particular was targeted, this is what I mean. For example, during the 2020 election, Latinx voters, I don't even know if we're still using that term. Never loved it.
I'm gonna fast forward.
And other realistic misinformation or insecurities on me. I didn't say you wasn't smart. This is the world that we live in. The world that we live in is seizing on the trauma that many Cubans have experienced as either exiles themselves or because they have family members who are 1 or 2 generations removed from horrific, oppressive treatment by the Cuban regime. And because of that, they throw around the word socialist, communist. Republicans do it as part of their packaging. Everything is socialist. Everything is communist that Democrats do. All the policies. And as soon as they call it that, it triggers something. That's fine. It's not fine that it triggers something because it's triggering something traumatic. But what I'm saying is a lot of people do not understand that this is the play. I'm not saying everybody, because some, especially the younger generations of Cubans, do understand this. And there is more voting diversity among them than maybe some of the older folks. But this the game plan, sis. I'm trying to put you on game. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to help out. Here with somebody else. Are very soft targets for misinformation. A lot of Latino and Hispanic communities are, to be frank, especially if you're from Cuba. Cubans hear socialism, communism, and as long as the Republicans use those words to describe democratic policies, they will vote.
So apparently millions of Hispanic voters didn't make a conscious decision because we just so confused, you know, we didn't understand what we were doing. That's pretty fucking insulting and tone deaf considering the state of your community that's been voting lockstep with the Democrat Party since you got the right to vote. I'm sure you don't want me to go down the laundry list of devastating policies that the Democrats have had you voting for that has taken away your family.
Hold up. Let me stop you right there, sis. Let me stop you right there. Okay. Now, I want you guys to understand something about Black people in the way that we vote. Black people do not vote Democratic because they feel some unusually high natural sense of loyalty to the Democratic Party. We ain't trying to be in the in crowd. We're not trying to gain proximity with nothing. We're just trying to be liberated. So far, for the last 50, 60 years, maybe 70 at this point, got to do the math. The Democrats have been the pathway. Keyword is pathway, meaning we're using them to get to a goal that we want to achieve. Because did you know before that, a lot of Black people voted Republican. Jackie Robinson was a Republican. Frederick Douglass was a Republican. The reason we did is because at the time, they represented the pathway for us to get to where we want to get. That's all we see is a pathway. Who is providing the pathway for us to get the closest to our damn goal? Now you want to talk about policy, baby girl. Your people wouldn't even be here without, if not for us. And I don't say that to be arrogant, and I'm not saying that trying to play the oppression Olympics. But the reason I am saying that, not all your people, because there's some variations in history. The reason I'm saying this is because one of the things that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 did, you know, that act that was fought by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Black civil rights leaders of the era, who put their blood, spilled their blood, got their blood spilled so this country could actually live up to what was in the damn brochure. That movement created the civil rights movement, which led to something very, very important, extremely important. It led to eventually the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. So here's how we went. It was Civil Rights Act of 1964, Voting Rights Act of 1965, and also the Immigration and Nationality Act, which did what? Total help me sing.
I'll let that play for a little bit. All right, let's chop that up. All right. She's talking about a pathway. A pathway. All right. Listen, the pathway to liberation and the pathway to this and the pathway to this, it would only make sense if the Democrat Party was the actual pathway to that. Notice you have to go everything about the Democrats. You can't name anything within the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. You got to go all the way back 60 something years in the past and talk about the Civil Rights Act. Okay, we get it. And first off, the Democrats, Lyndon B. Johnson hated black people and made that very clear. That wasn't a secret at all. He hated black people, didn't want to do it. Okay. But he wound up doing it. And he said, hey, I'm going to keep these Negroes voting for Democrats for the next 100 years. And damn near, he was accurate. The pathway to what? If Joe Biden is sitting up there telling us, as the Democratic president, if he's sitting up there telling us that we need to fall in line with Hispanics because they make up a larger pop percentage than we do, then what makes you think that this is our pathway to liberation when they're telling us we need to get in the back of the line? Because there are other minorities that need our concern. When we got every single major political politician, whether that's Brandon Johnson, whether that's what's the name, Gavin Newsom, okay, whether that's Karen Bass, all of Mandani, all of them sitting up there caping and pedestalizing Hispanic illegal immigrants. The pathway to what? No, black people have been bamboozled and brainwashed. Like I said, it would only make sense as if there was a legitimate agenda and a pathway that we were trying to follow. No, you got black people who are voting Democrat just cause. They don't got no type of agenda. They don't got no type of nothing. Y'all see us debate them all the time. Well, we gotta stop Trump. That's the point. That's the point. That's all we gotta do is stop Trump. It's stopping Trump. Besides that, you can't name the Democrats right now. They're running in campaigns right now. Okay, they're the primary campaigns going on right now. All, at least in the state of Illinois, of the Democrat campaigns are running on being anti-Donald Trump. That's it. They're at this point in time, they're not even advertising a pathway for black people. You're the only person who's saying that. They're not even advertising a pathway to black people. They don't even talk to black people. They don't talk about black people. They don't want to have nothing to do with black people at all. All of them right now are running on being anti-Donald Trump or stopping Donald Trump. That's it. And we're sitting up there saying that we need to vote for them down ballot, vote blue no matter who. No, Jamil Hill is one of the reasons. She is one of the reasons why black people have been stuck on this hamster wheel to nowhere. She is. Because she's talking about a pathway, and then when we say, hey, okay, well, if we want a pathway, that's cool, that's fine. Let's talk about reparations. Oh, that sound like some MAGA talk. That's it. You asking for reparations sound like Russian bots. These are the people where she's sitting up there talking about a pathway to liberation. These are the people who call us Russian bots for making demands for reparations. If demands for reparations, demands for an anti-black hate crime bill, demands for any type of tangibles, demands for any type of deportation, demands for any type of anything. Hell, police accountability, anything. If we make a demand, we're the bad guys. But somehow, these are the people who are going to lead the way to liberation. These are the people who are going to help the pathway. When these people are literally saying no to a pathway. These people are saying no to reparations. And if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And we supposed to believe they a pathway? No. Absolutely not. These people are not no damn pathway. We're getting more in the community done now by not supporting them. Talk about a pathway. Okay. We got stronger socioeconomics going on now. We have a higher percentage of success, a higher success rate by not supporting them. Talk about some damn pathway. These are the people who are the damn cancer to our success. These people have done nothing but infest the community. Okay? These people have been a parasite to the community ever since the civil rights movement. That's it. Now, as far as the Hispanic woman who said what she had to say, who said not what she had to say, who said what she said, don't bring black people up. Don't bring up your black people been voting Democrat for the last. Hey. Calm down, Ebola. Calm down now. Don't do that. Don't do too much. Okay. Don't do too much with that. I don't appreciate that. Look, I can talk about all of the stuff that black people need to work on all day long. Okay. I can talk about that. I have the privilege to do that. I don't let nobody else talk about that. I don't care what look, black people have been voting Democrat. I think democratic loyalty of the black community is ridiculous. Okay. I think that's stupid. That's very foolish and ignorant for us to be loyal to the Democrats. Okay. I'm not going to let no Hispanic say that though. I can say, man, black people, we need to really wake up. And then Hispanic be all like, yeah, black people need to wake up. I was like, excuse me, hold on. Whoa. Hold on. You got a little bit too much cheese on your taco, Jose. Like, oh, whoa, calm. No, you ain't gonna know. Don't agree with. Look, if I'm talking about what black people need to be doing, the only people I want to hear agree with me is my people. If I'm sitting up there, I'm in my foundational black American business talking about what, I don't care what I say. I don't care what I say. If I say, man, black people, we need to really wake up. We need to stop voting Democrats. I don't know why we've been so brainwashed. I don't want nobody else from outside my community to agree. Yeah, I don't want you to disagree, but don't agree. I don't want to hear your voice. I don't want you to repeat what I said. If I say, you know what, black people need to be more politically educated, I say, I don't want you to say that. You a Hispanic. You can't say what I said. They be like, I just said what you said. I don't know. You said it. No, it came from you. It's not right when it comes from you. I don't know. I don't let other communities tell us what we need to be doing. No. That's not how this go. That's not how we gonna do this. I don't care if I agree. But you out of line for even saying that. You out of your place. That's not your line. No, you need to back up. Tell us what we need to be doing. If anything, the only words I should be hearing from you is a thank you. That's it. So I ain't super mad at her for checking her on that. Like, no. All we need to hear from you is a thank you. Don't be sitting up there telling us what we need to be doing. Because the reality is we need to be getting you up out of here. That's the reality, if we're going to be very honest. So, yeah, I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. I don't appreciate that. What black people have been doing, I don't care what black people, I don't care what black people, we could be voting against reparations. If a Hispanic say, yo, yeah, maybe y'all should stop voting against reparations, I'd be like, excuse me? You say what? Don't tell us what we need to be. I don't like, ooh. Don't do that. I don't care what we doing. Don't do that. I check my people. I don't need your approval. I don't need your opinion. I don't need your advice. I don't need none of that. I don't even need you to agree. I don't even want to see your head nod. If I say something and you be all like, yep, hey, bobblehead, stay still. I don't want to see your head going up and down. I don't like that, dude. No. No, I don't. I do not like that, man. That'd be putting me in a bad mood. Let me get to Valerie with the super chat. Valerie says, if events evidence that a politician repeatedly and zealously supports your cause, even when it goes against their political interests, it stands to reason that you would support your own champion. First off, thank you for that. And that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. If they going against what we're saying, then we need to go a different way. Let me ask y'all a question. If y'all was to get on the bus, okay, or train, and y'all trying to get from point A to point B, if y'all are south going north, okay, you're trying to go south from south to north, but the train is going west. When you realize, hey, this train is going in the opposite direction or the wrong direction, I'm going west when I'm supposed to be going north. What do you think you should do? What do you think you should do? Is it that complicated? Honestly. For you to be like, hey, hold on, wait a second, y'all. You go to the train, be like, hey, where are we going? Oh, we're going west. Well, the only thing that makes sense for me to do is to get off this damn train and find another train that is actually going in the right direction. If the train is not going in the direction that we need to be going in, the only logical next step is to get off that train. That's it. If you realize that the train's not going in the right direction and you still stay on the train, it's your fault after that. Then whatever you end up going, that's where it is. Okay, because you didn't get off. So that's it. You can't get mad at that point. When you realize it wasn't going north, you can't get mad when you don't get to your destination. You can't. Let's continue with this.
It abolished race-based immigration, the quota system. Because before that, they was only trying to let in people from certain countries. And by certain, you know exactly the ones I'm talking about. They ain't look like you. That's what you need to know. But because America was forced through the protest, through the spilling of black blood to deal with civil rights, that is what led to the U.S. opening its borders. That's what led to it. So before you want to lecture me and lecture black folk about a continual allegiance to a party, you got to understand what we invested in that party. And the reason we did and have voted a certain way ever since is because that Voting Rights Act, that Civil Rights Act, and I could take you throughout. Now, this isn't to say that the Democrats are perfect. Mass incarceration, income equality, they got blood on their hands too. But the same party, we also got the first black president, the first black female Supreme Court justice, the first black vice president, so forth and so on. A lot of firsts. Don't have time to list it all.
What? That's what we get? When I tell you guys, and this is what I'm saying, y'all, come on. This is what I'm talking about. They can't name any tangible thing, any type of legitimate policy, any transformative anything since the civil rights movement. But you still want us to still be stuck on this damn train going in the wrong direction. Been saying we got the first black president. That's what the Democrats gave us. We got the first black Supreme Court justice. We got the first or black, not even black Supreme Court justice, the first black woman Supreme Court justice, and we got the first black VP. First off, Kamala Harris is not black. First of all, second, Obama is a tether, mulatto mixed tether, half breed tether, and then Ketanji Brown Jackson I'm not sure her lineage is foreign, but she ain't doing nothing for black people anyway. That stuff is not tangible, and it doesn't improve the community. It doesn't bring us any further. Okay, they're sitting up there bragging literally about symbolism, and we can live vicariously through some non-Caucasian politicians. That's all that is. That is symbolism, empty symbolism, with people who who will openly tell you they're not going to do anything for black people. Kamala sat there with her whole chest and said she will not do anything specifically for black people. And you're sitting up there talking about, the Democrats did give us that. If the Democrats gave us that, that's the sign we on the wrong damn train. That's the sign we need to. If that is all you have to say within the last 60-something years of black people being incredibly loyal to the Democrat Party, and all you got to talk about is Obama, and all you got to talk about is Ketanji Brown Jackson or Kamala Harris, then we need to abandon this ship and let it crash and burn the way we're doing right now. This is when I'm saying this is all they have to say. What have the Democrats done for us lately? They bought us Kamala. That's something. Okay, besides Kamala, what have they done for us lately? Obama, huh? That's something too. No. They have not done anything, and they don't intend on doing anything. They don't.
The amount of legislation that made sure that the people who came here were treated with respect and dignity, that was fought for by black people, because we are always the test case and we always on the front line. You can count on that, sis. Count on it. That's the reason many of you all who are here, who are not born here, are able to enjoy what you enjoy. Just saying. Let's continue.
The lowest level of education, but we're dumb because we understand what communism and socialism is. Newsflash, when we hear those words, it's not a trigger, bitch. It's experience. And in case you didn't.
First of all, I know on a video, I just want to address one thing real quick. Don't get too comfortable, sis. Actually, you already too comfortable. Because we can keep this very civil, or we can get into some gangster shit, as they say. And by gangster shit, I don't mean I'm physically threatening you. What I am saying is you don't know me. So don't even think to call me a bitch. Because I promise you, if you say that to my face, we're going to have some different kind of words. And they're not going to be nice. So watch your walk. Watch it. So then they want to call us dumb because of the way that we voted. And to that I say this. So the majority of y'all supported Donald Trump in Florida. I'm speaking, I mean, especially the Cuban population in general. I mean, there's obviously a significant number of Cubans in Florida. Supported Donald Trump. And then something real interesting happened.
President Trump for the death of my son, because he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger. But I do think that something needs to be changed in that department as far as the pattern of violence or abuse and impunity.
Rachel Ray's son, 23-year-old Ruben Ray Martinez, was killed by an ICE agent nearly 1 year ago here in Texas, but she's still looking for answers.
Yeah, everything was good. I just don't understand why they had to be this way.
Ruben, an American citizen, was killed in March of 2025, roughly 10 months before the fatal shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis. But ISIS involvement had not been.
Every damn day it's a new story about how the man y'all voted for, not all of y'all, but enough of y'all, in certain parts of the country, by an overwhelming majority, every day I'm seeing a story about how y'all didn't know that y'all was on the menu. Because the one thing black people have definitely understood, we always on the menu. That's why we vote like we vote. See, y'all got it twisted, and we just trying to educate y'all about racial hierarchy and how it actually works in America versus how you want it to work and how they've convinced you that it does work. Because the first thing a lot of immigrant groups learn when they get here is that the more anti-Black you are, the more you can rise up the ladder and be closer to what? Proximity to whiteness, which means proximity to privilege.
Let me take that back a few seconds. I'm going to take that back a few seconds, and I want you guys to hear exactly what she said again, just so it can marinate in your head.
Black you are, the more you can rise up the ladder and be closer to what? Proximity to whiteness, which means proximity to privilege. Is that the more anti-Black you are, the more you can rise up the ladder and be closer to what? Proximity to whiteness, which means proximity to privilege.
Now, I'll be damned. Has this not been what we've been saying for years now? We've been saying this for years. Now, these are the same people who will tell us, who will make all types of stories about, oh my God, we need to fight with against ICE, and oh my God, the deportations and all of that stuff. And we've been saying, hey, y'all understand that these immigrants are coming over here and they're trying to get as close to, as she just said, she was not wrong. And the thing is that she's not wrong, which makes what she said so much worse, because her and her ilk keep pushing the narrative that America was built by immigrants and America needs to be pro-immigrant and Black people need to stop being so xenophobic and Black people need to be more pro-immigrant. And you're just going to say, because here's the thing, she's only telling the truth because they all know this. What we're saying, we're the ones who are always telling the truth, whether we're in a good mood or a bad mood. We're the ones who are not trying to push no political narrative. We're the ones who don't have major donors and all that stuff telling us what to say, okay, and where to try to inform the crowd. She wouldn't be pushing this narrative. She and her ilk and all of them, they have always pushed a pro-immigrant narrative, a pro-Black and brown narrative. The only reason she's telling the truth as to how anti-Black immigrants are, in particular in this case Hispanics, is because one of them pissed her off. And because one of them pissed her off, now she's going to say the truth. Now she's going to be all like, man, y'all trying to be white. Well, damn, Jamila, this is what we've been saying the whole time. It takes one of them to piss you off for you to actually tell the truth about how immigrants are trying to come over here and how anti-Black they are. See, she told the truth accidentally. Now, with that being said, if they're coming over here and they're trying to be white, what sense does it make for us to support the politicians that are flooding our community with hostile illegals? These illegals are hostile specifically for Black people. What sense does it make for us to support that? What sense does it make for us to support not only them coming over here, but them siphoning off our resources? The government giving them an economic floor, the government pedestalizing them, the government protecting them. And we are supporting the government and the politicians that are doing that. What sense does that make for us? And here's the thing, all of them talk about, oh, that's not going on, that's not going on. She knows it. I want y'all to really understand, she knew this.
Part Black you are, the more you can rise up the ladder and be closer to what? Proximity to whiteness, which means proximity to privilege.
She knew that, and she's known that for years. Everything we're saying is not no secret. She knew that immigrants are coming over here and they try to be as white as possible. Okay, not just the Hispanic ones either. She knew that. They all know that, but that's not their narrative. Their narrative is that America beats up on the immigrants the same way they beat up on Black people, and we all need to work together, and we need to remember Jim Crow, and it's people of color. They know what their bosses and their massa told them to say. And they're saying not what the truth is, or not even what they actually believe. They're saying what they've been told to say. And they slip up and tell the truth when somebody pisses them off. The only reason she's saying this right now is because she's been drugged by Hispanics, and one of them pissed her off. And now she's trying to sit up there and tell the truth about how the Hispanics operate. Well, Jamila Hill, you knew this. You knew this. You've been knowing this the whole time. Why are you just now saying this? You trying to do the aha. You think this is a gotcha moment. You think this is an aha moment. This makes you in the whole ilk you run with, the whole DNC shill ilk you run with, look dumb. Because y'all been knowing this, and y'all been preaching to us that this is not the truth. Everything she just said, every word she just said in that last few seconds, that's what we've been saying, and she has been trying to preach that that's not the truth. Her and the DNC shills have been trying to preach that that is not the truth, and that we need to be pro-immigrant. She was sitting up there praising, I don't even got time to go back. Go to her channel on YouTube if you dare. Go to her channel on YouTube and see how she was praising Bad Bunny in his Super Bowl performance. So all of this pro-immigrant, 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 until one of them pisses you off. Now you want to tell the truth that you already knew. So listen, these DNC shields, they don't believe in none of the stuff they say. They don't believe in none of it. They know they're lying. They know it. We're the only ones who have a consistent track record of telling the truth. They don't. Let me show y'all something else. There's something else that I found that was very interesting. Also, let me just do a little reminder. If y'all could hit that like, I would appreciate that. I would appreciate that if y'all hit that like. Something else I stumbled across today. So, you know, midterms and all that stuff. So they trying to get out ads and stuff like that. Apparently, this ad came out of Virginia, and it pissed a lot of folk off. Y'all look at this.
It's growing among Virginia Democrats over mailers. Anger is growing among Virginia Democrats over mailers targeting black voters. Top Democrats say the flyers exploit the country's racial history to manipulate voters.
And the flyers encourage people to vote no on the referendum to determine if the state's congressional maps can be redrawn. Meanwhile, we also hear from the former delegate who says he's responsible for the mailers.
They are the mailers that have so many people talking and angry.
These mailers are deeply offensive and deceptive.
Images of the civil rights movement invoking Jim Crow, saying they want to silence your voice, sent to African Americans to encourage them to vote no on the redistricting referendum, determining if congressional maps will be redrawn to favor Democrats.
When I see people sending mailers using images from the civil rights movement, brave men and women facing down the KKK, people who marched, who bled, who died for the right to vote, to try to trick black voters in Virginia, I take that very personally.
House Speaker Don Scott and Senator Mamie Locke described voting yes on the referendum as a way to punch back at President Trump's demand that some states redraw congressional districts to favor Republicans ahead of the midterms.
We're going to punch back. That's what this referendum does. It levels the playing field so that Virginians can protect fair representation at a moment when it is under direct threat.
Our people are being used in this process.
It is former House Delegate Republican A.C. Cordoza, an African American, who is taking responsibility for the mailers sent through a PAC that he chairs. He says he will continue to encourage people to vote no.
Richmond politicians, they're ripping apart majority-minority districts in order to increase the number of white representatives from Northern Virginia. The same kind of tactics used back in the Jim Crow days.
If they think that people like me will go along with that kind of stupidity and take it, they're insane.
And the NAACP is also strongly condemning the mailers, calling them deceitful. The referendum will be on the ballot April 21st. Early voting is already underway.
Okay. All right. Now I tried to look him up. Notice that they said, I'm sure you guys, I'm already seeing the chat room. Notice that they said he's an African American. I tried to look him up. They saying his parents are African American and all of that stuff. Okay. Now, the last name, though, it's kind of like, I don't really know too many foundational Black Americans with the last name Cordoza. That sounds like a Spanish last name. Now, it also is a Portuguese last name, too. So, I don't know. When you see somebody Black with the last name Cordoza, I'm like, we might have to double check how long you've actually been here, how long both your parents have actually been here with the last name Cordoza. But I want you to see. Notice how, yeah, whatever it is, somebody says whatever it is, not FBA, Cordoza. That's a foreign come on now. We not dumb. We used to this at this point. We used to this now. We not new to this. But I want you to see how other people come to our community and exploit our history for their own political gain. The Democrats, because they don't have any type of marketing outside of the history of Republicans, the history of racism, why are you guys not saying, hey, we need you guys to do this and we're going to do something for you? It's no quid pro quo, which is how it's supposed to be working. It's supposed to work in a quid pro quo style. They're sitting up there talking about, well, you know, you got to vote because of Jim Crow and you got to vote because your ancestors died for you to have the right to vote. You got to vote. The reason why that happens is because they understand, Cordoza, he understands that foundational Black Americans have an emotional attachment to what has happened to us in the past, which is okay. I have an emotional attachment to it too. However, I'm not led by my emotions. It's okay to have emotions about it and to feel some type of way about it. We should have that because that is what drives us to make progress for the future. So there should be an emotional attachment to our history and to our heritage and to our ancestors. There should be. However, that doesn't mean we should be led by emotions, because when people are led by their emotions, they're very easy to be, you know, manipulated, easy to be confused, easy to be misled, all of that stuff. So we are not led by our emotions. What Cordoza is trying to do is he's trying to be all like he understands Jim Crow, and we still got survivors of Jim Crow who are still alive in Virginia. So he understands that image is going to trigger their mind and put a lot of Black people in an emotional state. So they were like, hey, if you don't want to return to Jim Crow, you know you need to vote. I want you to see the picture again so you can have a visual. Where was the picture? Where was it? Right here. Oh, you know all that marching and all that stuff we did. If you don't vote for us, then it's going to be like Jim Crow all over again. And they're saying this because they intend on putting Black people back into an emotional state of thinking where our emotions lead our decision and determine where we go, left or right, red or blue, up or down. But the thing is that that's not working. As a matter of fact, that's having the reverse effect. Because not only are you unable to pull on anybody's emotions and to manipulate anybody into voting the way you want them to, as a matter of fact, what it's doing in reality is pissing people off. Instead of trying to get people to be motivated to vote for you, what you're doing is actually offending people. Now, when people see an image of Jim Crow, instead of being all like, oh my God, I gotta vote, they're looking at it and it's making them upset, not at Jim Crow, but it's making them upset at you. It's making them realize that you are trying to manipulate them. And you're trying to brainwash them and have them be led by their emotions for your own political agenda. Not based off of something you're going to do for them, not based off of a pathway, not based off of anything like that, but based off of emotions. And that's having the reverse effect because people are starting to see, hey, that's all the Democratic Party has. Emotions and feelings. besides emotions and feelings, we don't get anything out of the Democrat Party. Even when you talk about Kamala and Obama and Ketanji Brown Jackson, besides the emotional, I guess, esteem you can kind of argue is there with them, what are we getting out of them? That's emotions. If you vote for any politician based off of how they look and not what they're going to do for your community, if you're voting for a representative not based off of anything they're going to do for you or your community, and you're voting for them just based off of I like seeing somebody who looks like me in office, that's emotion. That's pure emotion. And they want us to go back and doing that. That's why nobody voted for Kamala, because we've seen past that emotion. All of this, I need somebody who looks like me in office. Look, we don't care about that no more. That's emotion. If you look like me or you don't, are you signing this check? Are you going to write me out my reparations check? If you're not going to write me out my reparations check, you can be my twin. You can look exactly like me. I'm not voting for you. I don't care how much you quote unquote look like me. I don't care how much you sound like me. I don't care if you keep hot sauce in your bag for when you go to Popeyes and get some fried chicken. I don't care about none of that. If you're not going to sign this legislation, all of that stuff, it doesn't matter to me. Now, if you're going to sign it, I don't care. Listen, if you're going to sign reparations, honestly, you don't have to like nothing black. You don't have to like rap. You don't have to like R&B. You don't have to like any type of music genre. Pretty much all music in America is pretty much black music for the most part, really. You don't have to like any type of black music. You don't have to like any type of black culture, slang. You don't have to like, so I don't care none of that, okay? You might hate fried chicken. You might hate cornbread. You might hate greens. You might hate rap. You might hate hip hop. You might hate basketball. You might hate everything. You might hate the way we wear our clothes. You might hate everything. Are you signing a reparations check? Okay, well, fine. I'll shake your hand and we can get that done. I don't care what you're going to do. Because our emotions do not dictate what we do. And the Democrat Party, as you can see right here, they rely on black people to be overly emotional. Not to have emotions. Again, emotions is not a bad thing. Emotions is actually a very good thing, because a person without emotions is not going to really be motivated to do anything. The reason why we're here and we are motivated and we're concerned with the state of the community and all of that is because of emotions. Because if we didn't have emotions, we wouldn't care about nobody but ourselves. Okay? To a certain degree, you wouldn't even really care too much about yourself. So having emotions are a good thing. However, being led by your emotions change, they go up and down. Being led by them is a bad thing. And no longer are we being led by our emotions. Okay? Let me get to this new super chat, right? And then I want to ask y'all a question after this. Tobias, hold on, where is it? Come on. Oh man, what happened to it? Oh, Tobias just sent a super chat. I don't know where it is. Oh my God. Okay, there it is. He says, I appreciate your hard work, fam. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you. He says, I appreciate your hard work, fam. B1, thank you very much, Tobias. I appreciate you. That's my brother, Tobias. Y'all, let me ask you this question. So I saw this on the internet. So apparently, Don Lemon and D.L. Hughley have announced a comedy tour. And they're going on a comedy tour together. Don Lemon and D.L. Hughley. Believe it or not. Okay. So, what y'all think? What do y'all think about the comedy tour of Don Lemon and D.L. Hughley? Y'all think it's gonna be funny? Y'all think it's gonna be worth the money? Now, tickets start at $2.99, so you know, y'all can definitely afford it. I promise you, if you don't get your ticket now, there's gonna be tickets at the door. They're not having any sold out shows, so you don't got to worry about that. I promise you, there's gonna be plenty of leg room because there's gonna be 3-4 rows empty. You don't got to worry about that, you know. So, what y'all think? Y'all gonna get a ticket? But my concern is this: what do you think they're gonna name the tour? What do y'all think are some good names for the tour? What would y'all name the tour? Because Don Lemon, that's his initials are DL, and then DL, you know, is DL Hughley. So what are some good names for the tour? Okay. I don't know. I didn't know Don Lemon was a comedian at all. I've never heard him tell any type of joke. Don is trying to, boy, somebody said the Lemon Tour, the Lemonade Tour. Y'all are hilarious. Y'all funnier than Don Lemon and DL Hughley. I can't remember the last time DL Hughley did a stand-up either, so I'm a little surprised by that. I don't know what's going on with DL Hughley. Why is he? Somebody said the DL Tour. I mean, I guess it does fit the name. It does kind of fit, don't it? It kind of does fit a little bit. The DL Tour. Okay. Lemonade Tour is crazy. Oh, come on now. Y'all already know there's gonna be so many damn DNC shills, the talking points, the down low flow. Well, one of them's already out in the open. The DNC Shield Tour. Somebody says down low, the down low tour, Skittle Bag Tour. Y'all crazy. Y'all crazy. Corny to the core. Y'all crazy. Okay. What deal out the closet? We're gonna be all like out the closet. Is the tour gonna be called Out the Closet? What is it? The transition from one DL to the next. Okay. Okay, what is this? Oh, come on. Look. They say the streets aren't ready. If the streets are not ready, no, that's because the streets ain't paying. That's the reason. The streets ain't paying. All right. This had deficit. Okay. I just wanted y'all to see that in case y'all didn't see it. The streets ain't paying. I don't know what I don't know what they thought they was doing. I don't know what they thought they was doing with that one. Come on, DL. DL, you was not even that funny in the Kings of Comedy, and that was several decades ago. I don't know if Don Lemon is funny at all. I've never heard him tell a joke. What are y'all gonna do? Imagine DL Hughley and Don Lemon like running up in a church and telling doing a comedy tour in the church. Like, what do you? That's okay. All right, boy. All right. I ain't hating. Some people like, don't hate. Hey, I ain't hating on them. Some other people I saw in the other thing, they was calling this the Queens of Comedy. Imagine calling them the Queens of Comedy. Y'all are hilarious. That's funny. The Queens of Comedy. That's funny. Boy, that's funny. That's something else. I just wanted to leave y'all with a good laugh. DL Hughley's not that funny, y'all. He's really not. He's not that funny. Let me get to Miss Nisi. Miss Nisi says, D Lemonade and D Low Buck Broken Biscuit. Yeah. You know the missing word, Afro. Yeah, that's true. I know that. Yeah, I know the missing word. Shout out to that one. I like that. What do y'all think? The dynamic duo. the DL dynamic duo. I don't know. There's something. Y'all leave it in the comment section. Okay. Let's be creative. Let's be creative. What do we think we should call that tour? I want to know. So that's something for you guys to leave off with. What do you think we should call the tour? But before you guys do go, if y'all could hit that like button, if y'all could hit that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate that. I would tremendously appreciate that. Hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, hitting that notification bell. Y'all were so good a couple of days ago, Monday. I mean, we got tons of likes a few days ago. So shout out to y'all again. Thank you. And that means we can do it again. If we did it before, we can do it again. Okay. And if you guys missed the one we did last week, y'all definitely need to check that out because that one was fire. Y'all got to check that out. That one was for the books. We went in real deep on the psychological issues Tether's got. Y'all definitely got to check that out. All right. So y'all haven't seen that, y'all check that out once you're done with this. And I appreciate you guys for listening. Shout out to y'all. All right. But that will conclude this evening's live stream. As always, Black first to every single last one of y'all. I will be seeing you all soon. So y'all stay tight. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe, notification, and like button. And y'all stay blessed.